Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Get the Shot, brought to you by Tamron Australia. I'm your host, Joe. Today with me is Ewen Bell. Ewen is a really amazing photographer. He has been in the game for over 20 years. He does travel, he does teaching, he does all sorts of stuff. He's got a great YouTube channel and he's become a bit of a vlogger. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah. I think I accidentally started a podcast, but on video.
Yeah. Well, that's the way they go. That's where we are here. Thanks for coming on the show, Ewen.
Great to be here, Joe.
When it comes to your travel work, so that's what you're most famous for and what I know you most for, are you trying to find a unique environment or are you trying to find a unique culture or a blend of the two?
That's a really good question. The problem with travel, the distraction with travel is that we think it's got to be the most amazing place in the world to make it worthwhile. And what you really want to do is you want to express yourself with the camera. You're not expressing you've been to the most amazing place in the world. You want to have a creative expression, right? You're an artist, you're a photographer. For me, the draw is the culture. The draw is going somewhere that's special and is outside your zone. But your photography is still you. And I think this is a tricky thing to balance. Mm-hmm. You're not just there taking a photo that anyone could take. You want to take the photo that's your photo, not someone else's.
The Arctic, you've done a few things over there. I love your collections with all of that and your time lapses especially. What draws you to that location?
I really don't get along with summer. I just melt.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's something in my genes. I've got very, very Scottish genes.
Okay.
And I can survive out in the cold. I can be cold for extended periods of time. It can be -10 outside, and I can still pop out in my shorts for just a little bit, for just maybe half an hour, right? So the cold doesn't worry me, but I can't survive in the hot. And I love a landscape covered in snow.
Yeah.
Like it's not just that it's cold, it's that I love when everything is dressed in snow. Snow hides all of the stuff that's not pretty, right? Snow just drapes your landscape that would otherwise be a little bit ordinary and a little bit dull. And light plays with snow, right? You just got this white canvas that just sort of takes up whatever light is happening above your head.
I was thinking about that because snow's good because it diffuses light a little bit, but it also is like super reflective. So let's say there's a massive snowstorm the night before and there's snow everywhere and everything's super reflective. Does that become a challenge or does that become...
Oh, it's a plus. It's a plus.
Yeah?
The more snow you have, the better.
Okay.
I love it when everything's covered in powder snow, and especially if the trees are covered in snow. Like dark, heavy green trees, dark, heavy trees in a white landscape are just dark. But if you dress them all in snow, they're covered in snow too. And most of the places in the Arctic, the wind will blow the snow off the trees, so you don't get a lot of snow on trees for very long. But there's always these places that have kind of like a dip in the landscape, so they're going to get shielded from the wind.
Yeah.
And those are the places where you get like the ice cream trees, where the trees are covered in snow. And you just get this occasional week or two where it just doesn't get any wind and the snow piles up and piles up and piles up. And it's just so much more beautiful for compositions. It's just something really great to play with. And you do have to be careful because if you think about the Northern Lights, and we tend to think of them as being green, and they do come in a range of colours, generally from red to green. And the stronger they are, the more red they'll go, and a normal light will be green. And depending on where you are in the Arctic, if you're near Tromsø, so Tromsø is a fantastic place to go to see them because even a low-level event will be right above your head. And you've just got this green light just saturating the landscape, so your snow is green too. It changes colour because it's just taking in that light, right? And then you go to edit your shots and it's like, oh, why is my landscape green? It looks kind of weird that the whole landscape is painted green. And if it's a really bright event with your aurora, then yeah, your landscape's going to be green too.
I totally hadn't thought of that. And especially when it snows a lot, you're trekking around in your shorts, I'm sure, going around different locations.
Well, I try not to spend too much time in the short. The thing is, sometimes you see that something's going on, and we have a TV screen that's in the we have a TV screen that's running in the lounge room, and we basically cast up to it what's happening with the live satellite data. And when that little wiggle suddenly leaps, we race outside to have a look and just sort of check it out. And so sometimes it's just on, and I've just got to get my camera out there, and like half an hour could pass. I'm like, I'm actually getting a little bit cold now. I should actually go in and get changed and get warm.
Just to add a little bit more context to that, when you're in the Arctic, you're doing these sort of long 2-week courses with groups of people, or?
Yeah, every year we run at least one workshop. They go for 2 weeks. And every year it's slightly different. We have a different kind of way to run it. Like when I first started it, we were starting in one end of Sweden, and we go across the E10, and we end up at the end of these islands just under the Arctic Circle. And that's on the Norwegian side. So we go from Sweden to Norway and things like that. And every year it's kind of different. And this year we're doing something a little bit different again, where we call it an Aurora residency. And we're just staying in one place. And it's a very special place because it's far enough away from all of the nightly Aurora chases, because everyone's going up there to do this. It's just crazy. There's 180 vans every night in Tromsø going out to chase auroras. And essentially they're looking for where the sky is clear, because if there's clouds you can't see anything. So you're looking for clear sky, and on a bad night they'll have to drive 3 hours to go to Finland and then drive 3 hours to come home again. And that's a long night. That's a tough night for the guys doing these driving. And what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we just want to stay away from all that chaos. And so we're far enough away from all those people, but in a spot where there's lots of beautiful scenery, lots of beautiful snow, and we have lots of options of where we can shoot within 10 minutes of where we're staying. And it's just a different way to think about it. So rather than chasing the clear skies, we're waiting for the conditions that are right. And we have just beautiful places to go to, like the one in the photo we talked about with what appears to be a campfire.
Oh, don't give away your secret. Is that how you keep photography fresh after doing it for so long? You change up the workshops, you change up the locations?
Yeah, I'm really bad at doing the same thing twice.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's just how my brain works. And anyone with ADHD will understand exactly what I mean when I say I can't do the same thing twice. And we had this saying that I don't walk to the coffee shop the same way twice. I literally won't take the same route. I've got to walk a different way each time. Yeah. So I'm really bad at, like, I can't just run the same trip every single year. Like there was one time I'd seen this guy was doing 18 different week-long trips. Oh no, sorry, 8. It was 8, not 18. 8 different, sorry. He was doing 8 week-long trips in Africa. Yep. But it was just the same trip over and over. And I just thought, if you're a passenger on the 8th trip that year, how fresh is your guide going to be? Like, how excited is he really going to be? I think it's important that if I'm not excited, how is anyone else gonna rise up to the moment if I'm not excited? So I've got to enjoy it, and if I enjoy it, I think that helps other people to enjoy it. And I like creating something new. Like I like creating. I don't just want to stamp out the same experience every single time.
How do you make sure that each person on your workshop has a unique experience and takes something individual?
Well, that just comes down to scale. If you have too many people in one place, and you can't give everyone enough of your time. Yep. And there's always going to be people who feel they didn't get enough of your time, and they may not realize they're the ones who are actually taking up 2/3 of your time. Yeah. But there's, everyone's experience is different anyway, and everyone needs something different. So it can't be the same trip for everyone. And so if it's a small enough group, then there's an opportunity for people to step in a different direction, have different conversations. But also, you want a large enough group so that you end up with conversations you didn't expect. So again, it's never the same experience twice, right? Yeah. And part of it is the group dynamic changes how these things happen. And so the conversations that happen over the dinner table are just as important as anything that I might put up during one of the presentations that we run in the evenings and things like that. So we do have some structure in there. We have some specific presentations that have been worked up over the last 20 years. In fact, there was even a book that I wrote that essentially was from all of the things when people ask me a really good question during the tours, I think, that could be a chapter of a book. That's That's a really good question. And if I can hone the answer and really dig into it and get a good answer, then I've learned something from that process. And that's how I learn more too.
You should do a mini podcast series where you just record your dinner time conversations and it's just a quick series.
You know what? I actually did that once.
Yeah?
I did that once. We did, because I started a podcast back in 2019. It was kind of how I started my journey towards not just having the blog, but trying to step into other forms of media. And at the end of the Norway tour that we'd ran that year, there were just a couple of us were sitting around the table, and I put the microphone just in the middle of the table, and we're just having a cup of tea, and we're talking about the experience, and their words conveyed that experience so much more beautifully than I could have.
Yeah.
Because I only really see it from my perspective, and I try to step into other people's shoes, but when they can say it in their own words, I just think it's better.
Of course.
And so there's one episode of that, was one recording of that I still have, and I think it's still on my website somewhere, with these two ladies just sort of chiming in and giving their version of what happened. And it was really good.
What's that old Japanese film, Rashomon? Have you heard of that?
No.
This is Japanese film, and there's an event that has occurred, and there's a few people in a trial, and they're all telling their perspective. And so the movie plays almost like an anthology type thing, but you see the same event different times, but it occurs slightly differently. And in one character's perspective, this person's the antagonist, and in another, this person's. And so that perspective thing has always been really interesting to me. And that was like the film that people go to as like, when films that focus on perspective and character, that's what they sort of look at.
Well, that's the heart of how I see photography.
Yeah.
Photography is not about you are capturing something accurate and absolute and true about the world. That's not how I see it.
Yeah.
And I think we often think of we're taught that photography is a documentary, right? And we load up the meaning of that word so much. And really, photography is about expression. It's not documentary.
Yeah.
Because the documentary I make will be different to the documentary you make.
Would you say it's a marriage of the two?
I think we're striving for documentary, but I think the notion of documentary, the whole concept of documentary, is more an aspiration than a reality. And that ultimately, underlying everything is, if I take a photograph, that's my expression. That's my perception. I'm choosing where to point the camera. I'm choosing which photo to show you. I'm choosing how I treat it. I'm choosing what lens I shoot with. All of these things is changing the image you get. And that makes it art, not documentary. And as much as I might want to celebrate the concept of documentary and champion that, at the heart of it, it is actually expression. And I think we should embrace that. I think we should really grab that with both arms and say, and give ourselves permission to be expressive. And so in that context, documentary suddenly doesn't hold the same meaning for me.
Okay. So with expression, and I'm introducing now the idea of like being technical and technical competency, there's of course being in focus, but where does expression lie in things like composition and lighting and stuff like that? So
Yeah. So the way I tend to explain it to people, when they feel they're struggling and they feel they've got to learn a whole bunch of stuff before they can be a photographer, right? And you don't need to know everything about your car to drive your car. You need to know how the wheel works and how the brakes works and and a couple of things. But you don't need to know how to get the right pressure inside the carburetor to make your car work. You don't need to know any of that, right? You can just drive your car from A to B, and it's usually pretty successful event, right?
Yeah.
It's low drama. You learn how to drive a car, not how to build a car, right? And I think sometimes we get too caught up in how the camera works. And the way I try to explain it to people is that you only learn something technical if it gives you a creative tool. And you got to see them as tools. It's like having a toolbox with spanners and screwdrivers and things. You don't need 10 spanners. You just need a couple that fit what you want to do. And if you try out a spanner and it doesn't work for you and you don't like what that spanner does, try a different spanner, try a different tool, try a hammer, try a hacksaw. Like you got to think about, what do you want in your toolbox? Is that going to take you to the creative destination where you want to be?
Yeah, that leads into something quite nicely that, for context of the audience, Ewen has been quite a mentor in terms of like my setup here. Before we launched the podcast, I knew we wanted to do it out here in my office break room, and I knew it wanted to be a sort of casual vibe and stuff like that, but I spoke to you about how to light it and how to set it up. And
you didn't do anything that I said.
no, absolutely.
And that's why it worked.
Yeah. A big topic that you brought up was like friction in setting things up and production as a whole. And there's friction in photography, there's friction in videography in my line, there's the vlogging that you do, there's friction there. And of course in the snow, there's lots of friction with weather and stuff like that. So I think it's a really interesting thing to navigate, and our audience would find it interesting in terms of how to approach challenges and solving problems.
Yeah. That was a really interesting conversation where we talked about reducing friction.
Yeah.
And in the world of video, man, I tell you,
It's rough.
It's hard. It is hard. I literally just posted something to YouTube about, if you're a photographer trying to learn to get into video, here's a bunch of stuff you need to know before you really get on that journey.
You need to do a video that's the other way around, because that will be my journey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could get contentious. But it's just so much harder with video. Video is so much more work. There's so much to go wrong. Just audio alone, like just that one aspect, recording good dialogue, getting it right, processing the audio. And look, we have really great gear now. Like the gear is so much better. Like it's changed so much, even in 5 years. It is amazing how good the gear has gotten compared to 5 years ago. But you still got to work at it. It's a skill.
Yeah. I would actually say that most videographers are better at editing than they are at videography.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because early on, you take shots, especially, well, my career was always, okay, the pre-production meeting was a phone call with the agent being like, hey, there's an event, these people are going to be there, these are the sponsors, these are the brands, these are the things we need you to capture, do it. I sort of create a shot list in my head, and then I go home, and after that, that's when I figure out what I'm doing afterwards. And I think a lot of people, videographers in particular, early on, spend a lot of time maybe not doing that exact workflow, but probably have similar experiences where they're figuring it out in the edit more than when they're shooting.
And that's painful. It's really painful.
It's tough.
And I'm on a project right now where I'm reluctant to step into the editing because the scale of it is really big, and I know I haven't shot what I need. I know I don't have what I need to tell the story, and my task will be, so what story do I have?
Yeah.
What story can I tell with what I've got? And that doesn't make me happy. That's not fun, and it is wearing me. And one of the things I have done in the past is running a workshop for camera clubs that's online. So during COVID, camera clubs couldn't meet, it was hard to do stuff. And so I adapted one of my longer workshops to do this online thing that's all about curating. So you draw from a whole bunch of images that you've shot and you put it into a set, and we use like an ebook kind of format to put it together. It works really well. It's easy to share. It's easy to see what other people are working on. And so as an experience, it actually works really well. And there's a little bit of a sting in the tail, right? Because usually people are coming in with the view of, well, I've got a hard drive full of photos from the last 10 years. And I'm going to use that as my source, as my inspiration to pull things together. And I'm going to make this really good curated set. And hopefully by the end of the workshop, what they've learned is that you want to go out and shoot the bits you missed. And it's actually all about planning. If you plan ahead and say, well, actually, here's the story that I want to tell, what are the subjects that I need to focus on? You don't have to know what the photograph's going to be, because that would spoil the fun, I think. Like, I like being surprised when I don't know what I'm going to shoot today. But you need to know what the goal is. You need to know what is the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
And one of the things that often comes up is there's always someone during these workshops that says, oh, I'm going to do a book about doors. I'm just going to have like a bunch of doors. And I'm like, no, I'm not allowed to do that. That's a theme. That's not a story, that's the theme.
Yeah.
And I say, don't show me 100 doors. Walk me through one door. Take that one door. What's on this side? What's on that side? What's that transition? Why are we going through the door? What's on the other side? What is the surprise? Where are we going? Walk me through the door.
That's amazing.
And that's the difference between a theme and a story.
I am not enjoying this at all. But if you're enjoying this podcast, I suggest liking and subscribing. It really helps us quite a lot. Do you have a story to tell, by the way? If you go to tamron.com.au, you can tell your photography story, and we may even feature it in one of our articles. That's tamron.com.au. Back to the podcast.
I haven't really thought about friction from a photography point of view, more a video. Like my journey into video, I felt the friction. I could feel this challenge of like, I don't want to spend an hour setting up to do this. I just want to make this less of an obstacle to get there. Whereas with photography, my journey has always been go slow.
Yep.
Take your time. And it's just a whole different kind of environment to work in, right? If you, you're not feeling friction because you're not striving the same way. You're not under a deadline. You're not under pressure. So the corollary to travel is go slow. If you travel slow, if you plan to have plenty of time, if you don't rush your journey. So when I first started shooting brochures for travel companies, and you'd go to China and you would stay in 11 hotels in 12 nights. And it was just brutal because you're just packing up and going to the next hotel every night. And what I learned was it was really hard getting good shots on the actual tours for these travel companies. But at the end of the tours, wherever the tour ended, I'd stay for 3 or 4 nights. That's where I'd get all my good shots. And a friend of mine said, well, how would you design a tour just to get photographs? And I thought about it, I was like, well, the first thing you do is spend 2 or 3 nights in one place. Don't try to see everything. Just see a few things and see them well instead of just trying to see everything. And so go slow is the foundation for all of this, even how you plan your travel. Don't plan to see 12 countries when you go to Europe. Just go to one, enjoy it. And then go slow. You don't get shots when you're driving a car, right? Not while you're driving. So you've got to plan to slow down your travel. And if you can walk is much better than driving. And just, even if you can just sit on a street corner. And we do this sometimes. We do this. We'll be in a market, say, like a wet market, a morning market, and people sometimes get overwhelmed and there's a lot to take in. You know, you're in a different country and it's all very, very exciting. And you're in this market. And I say, just sit on the corner and we'll just pick a corner and we'll just watch people go by. And some lady will come up and talk to us and we don't know what they're saying because we don't speak the language. And there's just all these opportunities to photograph suddenly happen because you're not chasing it around.
Yeah.
You're just going slow. You let the place reveal itself to you. And so this is how I've always handled photography. So video is just a whole other world, right? And that's where we talked about friction.
Yeah.
Because once you've got deadlines and you're rushing and stuff like that, you just want to remove the things that get in the way of just being able to just to take in that moment and enjoy it.
I'm indifferent towards deadlines because I'm huge on pre-production. Everyone I work with, I produced a short film recently and I was just like, more pre-production. It was quite an ambitious script. And people just wanted to go. But I'm like, guys, let's have a meeting for this. Let's do a meeting for that. And just sort of taking it slowly. And we still got things wrong during production.
There's always going to be surprises, yeah.
Yeah. However, if you want to take your time, but if you spend too much time working on stuff, you actually lose momentum and excitement can go. So where do you think the balance is for that?
Well, you're talking about shooting a short film, right?
Yeah.
So you're creating everything that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's very different to travel photography.
That's true, yeah.
So travel photography, you're looking for the moments and you're in the moment and you're looking for that opportunity for something to happen and to inspire you. And so the timescales are just really different. You're not running to a schedule. You're not. That doesn't mean you can't plan. And I honestly, strongly have to say that for most people don't understand, creativity doesn't mean you didn't plan it.
Yeah.
Creativity means you did plan it and you got a result.
Yes.
It really, it drives me crazy, the number of people who just think, oh, but if I plan it, I'm going to spoil the moment. If I says, no, you're going to actually have a much better time. It's going to be much more rewarding if your effort is being put into the right area. So if you want to do a book on the food in islands around Croatia, then you got to plan for that. You can't just rock up to Croatia and go, oh, actually, I don't know how to get to the island. Like, that's just not going to work. You're going to be wasting your time if your goal is to do islands in Croatia. So there's got to be planning.
Absolutely. Did you think when you got into photography that you would become a vlogger and a content creator or an influencer?
No, this is not my natural comfort zone. Definitely.
Are you
not.
uncomfortable right now?
I'm okay now because my brain is in a certain track. So aside from ADHD, I also have a lifelong stutter, and I work very hard every day to keep that under control. Like, there's a little part of my brain reserved specifically for just keeping that under control. And as I get tired, or if I don't get enough sleep, or if something happens and I get anxious, and then that part of my brain suddenly is no longer doing what it needs to do, and my speech does not go very well at all. To this day, if I had to pick up the phone and call, an insurance company or something, it would be a mess. It's just, I hate talking on the phone, stuff like that. So the weird thing is, practicing doing the podcast back when I was doing that, and now the YouTube stuff, it's helped my brain to learn to speak better. It's actually helped me in a lot of ways.
Oh, that's really sweet to hear.
It really is. It's just practice, and it's a skill. It's like photography. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and that's kind of thing. And because, you see, most of my travel stuff was really orientated around my blog, and that's been really good for my business and my career, but Google don't want people to go to blogs anymore.
Fair enough, yeah.
Google wants you just to go to their AI and get the answer. They don't actually want you to go to websites, right? Yeah. So Google is now an answer machine, not a search engine.
Yeah.
It's changed, right?
Yep.
So blogs have tipped off a cliff, which is really sad. And I worked really, really hard to learn how to write good enough to get stuff on my blog.
Well, I think you can convert that writing skill into a good script for a vlog.
Yeah. And that's definitely how I started.
Yeah.
And just in the last 6 months, I've just sort of taken a different direction. And again, it comes back to friction, because we were talking about, you got to plan for stuff, but you also want to reduce the friction. You don't want to have a plan that's difficult. You want a plan that's simple and easy.
Yep.
And so the plan is just, I like having conversations. I don't like just talking at people. I prefer talking with people.
Of course, yeah.
And so my current approach to the YouTube stuff is, I'm just basically pretending that I'm having a conversation with someone and that they've asked a specific question, and I just answer that question.
That's really cool.
And that's really it. That's really the core of it.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not just a host and a pretty face on this show. I also edit this stuff. I set up the cameras and the lighting and the mics, and I put it all away afterwards, and then I edit this too. And I am still sick of hearing my own voice.
Oh, yeah.
How do you deal with that? Not hearing my voice, hearing your own voice. Yeah.
I don't know. You just switch off after a while, don't you? You just kind of stop hearing it. You stop really being conscious in the moment. It's like driving a car.
Yeah.
When you get in the car and drive home, and you get home, you think, you're not even conscious of how often you change gears, or when you turned, or when you reach for the indicator. It's a non-conscious thing, and I think you just get to that point. You're not really listening.
Yeah.
And so the best way to handle my voice is not to listen to it.
That's a interesting perspective here. To the audience, yeah. Your YouTube channel, I think is criminally underrated. You've got some great videos.
Thank you.
That are less than 1,000 views, and then you've got some videos that you got one recently that's at like 70,000 or something close to that now. It's easy to identify the videos and the topics that will get views, whether it's a review or it's something polarizing or negatively geared. So how do you balance doing the passion projects, so the stuff that you want to put out there, and then there's the things you know that will get views? Or getting views, is that not really
in general, I'm really bad at getting views. Like if you want to talk to someone about how to get views, I'm definitely the wrong person to ask that. There've been a couple of videos that have done pretty well. But part of the thing is, I'm just not playing the game. like it's become really, really apparent just because that thing I posted on Sunday, like it was so weird, and we are laughing about it at home so much. We just have so many jokes. Yeah, because we're not used to something getting 70,000 views in 3 days. That's just not a thing that's happened for me before. And it doesn't feel like the number is irrelevant, right? Like I would feel the same if it got to 7,000 because things were going so badly for the previous couple of years, right? So the bar was so low, and then suddenly one of them just sort of screams up a bit. And it's not something I had planned on. Like I can't take any credit for that. What happened was I just happened to pick a topic. And it's interesting because in the weeks leading up to that, so many people wanted to give me advice on my thumbnails.
Really?
So many people have given me advice.
Oh, everyone's always got an opinion.
Everyone's got advice for you.
Yeah.
Everyone's does. And I just kept thinking, you know what? I don't think it's the thumbnails. Honestly, man, it's not the freaking thumbnails. Like, just can we not have this conversation again?
Yeah.
And because deep down I knew, I just want to talk about things that is not what 90% of the world wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the world, like there was a video that I did that was called creative versus reactive. And I don't know if you realize, but they're the same letters just rearranged, which is so cool. That is really cool. And it is literally about, you should plan ahead. If you get organized and do some planning, then you will be able to achieve much more creatively. It will be really good for you. And I think it had like 130 views.
Oh man.
And I'm just like, that's literally the best advice, the best 10 minutes of advice I could give anyone. And 130 people, and of course you got to factor in, out of that 130, 70% aren't watching it through. So really, we're talking about maybe 35 people have actually watched the whole video.
I can't wait to turn this into a YouTube short and see how many views that gets. YouTube's an interesting space to work in. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
This was my best offering, I feel. And here's the problem, right? It's like, do I change my whole platform because one video got 75,000 views?
No.
That's right. You can't do that, right? But it does tell me, how am I framing my offerings?
You know, I say no, but actual modern social media marketing advice would actually indicate that's your style, do that again, and get more views that way. You
know what else was weird? Like when I was editing a video that I shot yesterday, and I just went back to that video as my template, because that's how I work. I just grab the last one and then I pop in the new one and I just use that as my template over and over. And I went, oh, actually, this came across really well. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
It just didn't look like me at all, right? I'm like, wow, okay, that was like one of my best efforts, definitely. Yeah. And so it was just, but picking a topic, like if you want numbers, it's about the topic, right? Yeah. So if you get 0.1% of 6 billion people, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you get 50% of 100 people, it's not a lot of people, right? It's just the numbers. So if I was picking topics that more people were interested in, and in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking the algorithm just needs to learn that certain people are interested in certain topics. It just doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
The algorithm doesn't know that there's actually hundreds of thousands of people out there desperately wanting to find out why they can't be as creative as they want to be.
And it's a tricky aspect as a creator because you can create 3 videos and they may not get many views, but for YouTube to understand your videos a bit better and push it into the algorithm, you've got to be consistent and you've got to keep releasing stuff. And so it's actually,
ouch.
It's a zero-sum game in a lot of ways on YouTube. And the other tricky thing is TikTok gives you content. You scroll to the next one. That's its default feature. Instagram Reels, which has become one of the more common things that people scroll through, that gives you content. YouTube, for the most part, is still a platform where you have to click on a video that you want to see. Well, Instagram, you have to follow an account when you're scrolling through your feed. That's how you see new posts there. But on YouTube, if you want to watch a video, you have to click it, which is a boundary that now exists, weirdly enough. How strange is that? Yeah.
I have to confess, I just hate Instagram so much. I hate it. I used to love
I hate
it.
TikTok, so that's the one I really don't like.
TikTok I don't get. I don't hate it because I don't have to participate. But Instagram, I'm a photographer, so I've got to have an Instagram account, right?
Yep.
You know, like I'm an ambassador for some brands, some brands, and they want me to post stuff to Instagram and stuff. It's like, well, you know, I want your stuff, so yeah, I guess I better post some stuff to Instagram. But I don't like the platform, and the more time I spend on it, the more I dislike it.
Yeah. Okay. Is it the culture on Instagram that you don't really like? Is it a product? Is it?
It's the manipulation by the algorithm, because it's manipulating both the audience and it's manipulating the advertisers as well.
So are you fond of a curated experience, or do you just want to be fed random content?
So my social media experience is 99.9% Mastodon.
Okay.
Which is like the geeky kind of social media. It's called the Fediverse, and Mastodon uses like a public algorithm, and you know, I can post a photo on there and 400 people will like it, respond to it, comment it, that sort of stuff. I can post something to Instagram and maybe 10 people will see it.
Yeah.
And I have 40,000 people on my Instagram, but maybe 10 people will actually see the post.
It's so weird as well, because on Instagram, when it comes to agencies and, you know, businesses, they look at likes, followers, comments, shares as their metrics.
Yeah.
But people who viewed the post and reach, that's the same as views on a YouTube video. Like when you think about it, like...
It's different though, it's totally different. And as a photographer, and this is actually why I got into YouTube, right?
Okay.
As a photographer, with YouTube, when I say like the video I've got with the penguins when I went down to Antarctica in January, and it's just a whole bunch of penguins, and it's around about 8 minutes of me talking about the penguins and the experience, with the occasional slow motion at 120 frames per second of the penguins doing something silly, and it's really cool. And let's say that maybe something like 500 people have watched that video, and for those 500 people, they've watched 8 minutes of penguins that I've shot. I can't get anything near that with Instagram, because Instagram, you're just flicking through, and the way I think about it with Instagram is you've got a great big open sewer, and all the shit is flowing out, is just going past you, and you just drop your pretty lovely little photo into the top of the sewerage, and it sits on there for a little bit, and then it sinks down with all the others.
Oh man.
That's Instagram, because it's gone. It's there and then it's gone. And you didn't have an experience at all.
That's true. Here's an interesting fact about Instagram, and I learnt this from the CEO on Colin and Samir. More people share content through direct messages than they do share on their stories, and more people share on their stories than they do post on their feed, which is interesting because you and I probably think of Instagram as a feed app with a messaging feature, but weirdly enough, it's become a messaging app with a feed feature with
Right.
how people engage with the content.
Yeah, it's changed, right?
Yeah.
Like in the early days, it was really nice. You'd say, oh, look, there's someone's coffee. It's good to see. Oh, look, and Jim's out there with his dog. That's really cute.
Yeah.
And Instagram was fun then. I really liked it. And then they just, every year, they find a way to make it worse. And I just don't enjoy it. And I've got to be where I enjoy. And I enjoy YouTube. So part of it with me for YouTube is that I can sit there and I can show people photographs for 8 minutes and they watch 8 minutes of my photographs. Where else am I going to get people to do that? There's no other platform in the world that I can do that. If I can get people to watch 8 minutes of my photos, that's great. And it's a good experience, because most people are going to watch it on a screen and it's going to be their best screen. It could be their TV, it could be their laptop, but it's going to be their best screen. And they're going to see it and they're going to enjoy it. And I get to share something about that experience because it's not just the photo, it's experience the context of the photo. And they get all that. And you get this experience with YouTube. That makes it a really good platform for sharing your photos.
Would it be fair to say that YouTube has its own game of how to get attention and views and likes and followers, and there's the Instagram game? Are you just more fond of the YouTube game?
Well, I'm not really playing the game. That's still the tension, right? That
Yeah.
I'm like I've had one video that accidentally went off, and I've had one that was all about how to use a particular camera, and that's different. Like that's also had about 50,000 views, but that's just a very slow every day. There's like another couple of hundred people watch that video because it's a very long and detailed video about how to use the S5 II by Panasonic, right? Like it's all about that camera. And when I made it, I had a year's worth of shooting with the camera, and I had footage from the outback, and I've got rock wallabies jumping off cliffs and jabiru coming into land and all sorts of really great stuff. I had a year's worth of work that is condensed down to 20 minutes to show everything that camera can do. Great camera. And it's just a good video. That's all it is. And YouTube loves gear.
Yeah.
YouTube loves gear. And I don't want to do gear all the time. I think it's good to do some. But I mostly want to talk about photography, not gear. And that's the difference. And I know that means I'm not going to get 100,000 views on most things I post.
Yeah. Views are interesting to me in my experience because I've posted stuff on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and you don't like Instagram, or you don't really like Instagram. I really don't like TikTok.
Okay.
And it's not just that I don't understand it. I understand TikTok.
And that's why you don't like it.
That's why I don't like it. I got a
'Cause you
page,
do understand it.
in 1 year, I got a page 22 million views across
Wow.
videos. And the most viewed one video was 6.5 million. And I do not get TikTok. Videos get either 7 views, 7,000 views, or 7 million views. And it just never made any sense to me what did well. I got why the second video we ever posted on that channel got 1 million views, and it made sense. There's a bit of story there, there's tension. It was straight interviews. So
Okay.
no offense to the guy who's listening to this who I worked for, but it was slop and what I call shit content, but I still did it anyway.
We've got to pay the rent, man.
Exactly. We knew why the second one got views, but there's the other two that passed the 1 million mark. I don't get why they got there. I can figure it out with Instagram and why certain videos and why certain trends can do well, and that's the same with YouTube. But TikTok, I could just never understand as a platform. And so that's why I avoid it. And that's why none of the clips that we post go on TikTok.
Yeah, I can't say much about TikTok. I really can't. I just don't know. My wife could say a lot. She spends a lot of time on it, which concerns me. Yeah, I just every now and then I take a look at it and go, oh man, this is not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. And it's again like to come back to the Fediverse. So most of the people I chat to on the Fediverse, they're using Mastodon. That's just like an alternative to Twitter, we could say.
Yeah.
And there's another alternative to Instagram on the Fediverse. It's called PixelFed. And it's really good. And you can post a whole bunch of pictures to it. You can have a gallery, and people really love it. And a lot of people will say to me, why aren't you on PixelFed? Like, why is it you're just using the Mastodon side and you're not sharing your photos on PixelFed? Or that I'm not drawn to it. And it's because to me, it's that same thing. It's just a lot of photos in one place. It's overwhelming. They're not connected. And the connection is so important for me. We talked about curation before, and the essential thing to curation is the connection between the images is what makes a curated story.
Yeah.
And Instagram or PixelFed, any of these things, it's just a lot of images in one place. And I keep seeing people trying to redesign how to make a social media network based around sharing images. And there's one called Glass, and there's so many versions of this, right? People keep trying to re-engineer this, and they struggle for critical mass. They always struggle for critical mass.
That's the thing that Instagram captured. Whilst it is an image sharing platform, you're actually sharing an experience and a story and value. Sometimes there's value.
Well, it was.
Or a product.
I think it was. I think it was. I mean, I go onto Instagram and it shows me a bunch of stuff I don't want to see. So I last like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and I
right.
just go like, oh, God, I hate this space. I just hate it.
We've been going for about 50 minutes, which is bloody impressive. So I don't know if I'm going to have to split this into 2 parts or if we're just going to do one super long one.
Just do a long one.
I think just do a long one.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, I do have to sort of wrap it up now.
I know, because you got to edit this shit now.
But Ewan, seriously, thank you for the advice you've given me as a creator here. You're super valuable and insightful. And I can't wait to communicate with you afterwards. Good luck on all of your travels. When this releases, I think you'll be deep somewhere.
Up a mountain somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely awesome.
Really enjoyed the chat, Joe. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.